All right, good afternoon, everybody. So this is our second webinar in our series for Instant On. Today we're going to talk about Aruba Instant On wired solutions. I'm Matthew James. I am our Aruba lead in solution design and services here at Ingram Micro. And we're going to go through and do a little bit of features and then some of the product set. And at the very end, we're going to talk about our Aruba Action program. Just a little breakdown. We'll have the overview, product lineup, some recap on what we talked about, and then we'll have some time for questions if there's any in the chat. And then we'll talk about some upcoming webinars that we have. And like I said, we'll talk about Aruba Action at the end. So if you were part of the wireless one, or if you weren't, we did talk about this a little bit, but we'll go through it again. So one of the best things about Instant On in general is that everything from your wired solution to your wireless solution can all be managed in one platform through the cloud, which can be connected to on a phone app or on your desktop. And it's very simple and easy to maintain. The switches are no different from the wireless. We have everything in one place. It's very easy to understand. You can do all of your firmware upgrades, management, setting up your switches and network and parts of that. We do have one switch we'll talk about in this series that doesn't have this, but it's just the odd one out. We'll go over that one just a little bit. But generally speaking, everything is going to be on all our Instant On, all included, no extra software, no licenses that you have to purchase. And it just makes everything very simple, easy to use, and very available to people who run in small businesses, medium businesses, and they don't necessarily have a tech and IT staff to cover everything. So our Instant On wireless solutions still have everything you're used to seeing on switches, just a little bit cut down, cut back for the SMB portfolio. So you'll still see things like your ability to control and schedule PoE, and PoE, of course, will still be an option on our switches. Of course, you want the ability to power all those nice Instant On APs right off the same switches as well, so you don't have to get a complete separate solution or PoE injectors in there. We have that ability. Still have security features that you'd expect on anything for switching. We have, of course, these all still have reliable throughputs. They have their full line rates on their ports. Everything is set up to go for whatever connections you need in your small setup. And of course, it still keeps the limited lifetime that customers are used to on our switches. Nothing lost there, with the ability to uplift, of course, to our 3 and 5 year warranties that get you better lead times and your full phone support throughout those warranties. All the management is still simple and included in the cloud. So everything like PoE scheduling, all that is still available. These have limited things that you could do command line wise, but that's not what you're really looking at these switches. When you're thinking these, think simple setup, simple features. So our series starts with the 1430, which is that one oddball switch that I was talking about, and we'll go into that a little more on the next slide. We go up to our 1960, which kind of borders on the edge of being still SMB and kind of getting a little bit more to that medium large, depending on how you're deploying it. And it is the only one that stacks, and we'll get into why its stacking is a little different than what you might be used to. It has a different option that makes it even more flexible. And of course, we'll talk about the ones in between as well. So the 1430 is an unmanaged switch. It is the only one that will not connect to that cloud portal. What this is good for, though, is when you have any of those small office, home office setups, and you just need something in there, and you don't necessarily have anyone going to that place to manage it, and you don't need anyone to send anything special. You just need extra ports. With the amount of devices we're bringing home today, all these extra things that have to be connected to the network, you're still probably going to need some sort of little switch in there, but you don't need anything fancy. These are nice, low-cost options that are just turn it on, let it do its thing. Nice to have real good switches in there, and you know they're still reliable even if they're unmanaged switches because they still got that Aruba name on them. And of course, they're fanless and quiet, so they're not going to interrupt in that office setting, so you don't have to worry about a very loud, obnoxious fan interrupting that phone call with a customer. Still got some PoE options on these, which is very nice. So you could still power a couple APs, maybe a phone, probably got an IP phone somewhere in there. And of course, a nice range of port options available. And even one model with some uplink ports that you can connect back to your other switches. There's just a list of all our port options, nothing crazy here. We do have all the way from a 5 up to 26 ports, which is a nice range for everyone. It fits a lot of needs. And of course, we have the PoE options, which is just a nice add-on for anything. Now, because these are unmanaged, obviously these aren't going to be the thing that's going to ever run your business because you want to be able to set up features and control things that are going on. So just think of these as something that's going to be out on the farther edge in those smaller setups. Our 1830 series, our 1830 is taking a little bit up. 1830 is going to be just one step past where we're finally getting into the managed. We're going to have that cloud management inside of Instant-On. It's going to still give you a lot of range of port options to fit a lot of solutions. And it's also going to have that flexibility, like all of these will after the 1430, where you can manage locally or on the cloud. But if you're using the Instant-On, it's really good to take advantage of that cloud app. It's very convenient and it is secure, so it's not something to be concerned about. Aruba does pride themselves in their security features, so don't worry about that cloud tag and think of that as something scary. These are just layer 2 basic switches. They do not stack, but when you're looking at this kind of setup, you're probably not thinking too much about stacking. You just have a couple switches somewhere. They're just nice to have. And they do have fanless models, which means you do have the option to keep that nice quiet sound in a room where you might not want any of that going on. And of course, a little more PoE available to them. Here's a breakdown of the port options. I won't go too much on here because that'll just get a little too boring too quickly, but just know that we have a good range from 8 all the way up to 48. And we have our uplink ports for connecting back, because of course, if you're running this SMB environment, there's a good chance you got something that this is connecting back to a bigger setting. The 1930 series is kind of what I'd say I see the most when we're talking anything Instant-On switches. We're still not anywhere where we're stacking or doing anything crazy yet. Of course, managed in that web app. These have up to that 370 watts PoE, which is nice. You could have a lot of phones, cameras, whatever you might need in that area. They're a good option, low cost option that's got some layer 2 plus, which just means they'll have a little bit of routing features there, nothing crazy though. And of course, they can be managed local and on the cloud. And all of these switches will have that limited lifetime, which is always nice to know that you don't have to get any crazy uplifts or anything. You always have that there backing these switches up, but you have the option to get those uplifts. Just to break down here, we look at all the way down to our 8 ports up to 48 ports. And if we're still maxing out on 370 watt, these are all single power supplies. So these are the kind of type of switch where you might want to get a second one in there just because of that. Though you got that warranty backing you up too, so don't worry too much. Now the 1960. 1960 is that one that's right on the edge of still staying in our smaller to kind of getting a little bit bigger. These switches are very robust in that they have a lot of features to them because they are the first one that's going to be able to stack in the Instant-On, currently the only one that stacks, but it has a special way of stacking. It can do a regular stack like you're used to, the traditional, cable it up and have it all hardwired stacked. Or if you're in a situation where you've got a bunch of switches, maybe across an office setting, not necessarily going to be able to cable up, but you'd like to manage them together, these can do what's called cloud stacking. That cloud stacking just works through the Instant-On app, and you basically make a virtual stack through them that allows them all to be managed as one switch, which is a nice feature, no extra cost once again. That's one they always like to push with Instant-On. None of this is extra. All this comes in there, no licenses, any of that. The 1960, you just have it set up to the cloud stack, and then you have that ability to see it as one. And of course, like I said, if you want that regular traditional stack, you can do that too. There is one other unique model in here, which is our aggregator model, which has 12 10 gig base T ports. So if you're someone who is just getting your foot in the door on 10 gig, just needs something in there that's a little cheap, maybe got a couple machines out there that are just starting to use it, but nothing high performance, you could throw one of these in there, stack it with another one, get a little nice 24 port setup, not without, going crazy and breaking the bank or anything with a lot of those 10 gig switches out there. That being said, don't think of this as like your high performance 10 gig. A lot of customers try to put this in the wrong place. Just think of this as where you're just getting into that entry level 10 gig space. You don't want to be taking anything too high end on these and going crazy. You'll end up overloading this poor little thing. Still got PoE options on here, of course. We have PoE options out this series. And it's still just a layer 2 plus, so nothing, we're not getting really anything layer 3 crazy. We're not getting all these features in there. It's supposed to be easy to use, easy to set up. It's for your lower end customers, so don't expect anything too crazy, but it's nice to have, and you still got some nice features on them. And here's just a breakdown of all our ports. We do have some things that reach out to that higher class 6 PoE, so we can get some higher wattage products in there. So you got some of those 1080p cameras and things like that are pulling a little extra power. Got the option available on these. It's nice to have. And of course, we have a bigger budget option on here for 600 watts. So if you're looking for a lot of devices, the 1960 series is going to help you out with that. All right, and here's just a chart. As I said last time we had one of these on the wireless one, if you're here for that, don't get too caught up in all the speeds and feeds on this. One thing that I like to point out is the use cases and the ideal deployments, because you just see how much Instant On can cover, from small home offices to retail stores to startups and training facilities. They're just a nice addition that keeps costs down, but still doesn't take away those features that you love to have on your switches. So really just focus on looking at those features, and honestly, those are great things to bring up to customers, that it's just a very good option that is easy to manage, doesn't require any crazy IT staff. These are things that me and you could set up at home, and you'd think that you can pull this switch out there, it looks like something crazy out of data center because it looks just like the other ones, but then you're starting to set up and you're like, this is super easy. So just remember, that's what Instant On's all about. So we're thinking connectivity on these. A lot of people know, if you're looking at switches or you're regularly looking at switches, one thing that is a nightmare is transceivers and DAC cables. When you're talking those 10 gig ports, their prices are not fun to deal with. Well, they have a series of Instant On specific transceivers and direct attach cables that keep the cost down to go along with the switches. So make sure when you're looking at these, you can get these on there. Most of our Instant On do still show the other ones, so if they have those on hand, they can be mixed in. But if you're brand new setup, you want to look for these, because they'll keep your costs, you can see there, a lot cheaper than your traditional ones. You're not losing anything. It's nothing crazy. It's just something that HP is doing to make sure we have a full Instant On solution that's nice, low cost for the customer. All right, so the Instant On mobile app. That mobile app is a very nice to use, customizable dashboard. Is where you're going to set up everything, see everything. And our next webinar will actually give a live demo of how this works. But to talk about it a bit, it makes everything in one place where it's just point, click, touch screen. If you're on your phone, super easy, setting up firmware updates, changing your views, whatever you want to look at, how you want to see it, whatever you want up front, and things maybe you don't want to see so much, you can push around, and it just lets you set all that up on this app. It also has the guest portal customization feature. So when you're probably setting up with these little wireless connections, most people who go to a store anywhere now, you're looking for that guest Wi-Fi. You're probably setting up a guest Wi-Fi at these SMB shops now. It's just what people are used to or expecting in these days. So all that's in here, no extra cost. It's a very nice thing. We don't like to play around in the too many licenses space like some of our competitors love to do. We keep that all to the side. I've mentioned it a few times, but we got our warranty here. Probably one of the things that people really look for on our switches, and they're so used to, is that limited lifetime. Well, that didn't go anywhere on our Instant On switches. That limited lifetime's still there. Next business day ship. Of course, there's situations where that could fluctuate because, if there's shortages, but if you're worried about that, that's why we have our uplift options for 3 or 5 years, where you get that guaranteed arrival. So if that's something that you're really worried about, or it's something business critical, it's always a recommendation to get those warranties. The Instant On warranties stay pretty cost effective as well, so it's nothing too crazy there. Of course, on the limited warranty, you still get phone support for the first 90 days. You get some chat support for the whole time. If you want uplift, you get everything for the whole time. The transceivers in DAC will have their own parts exchange warranties on them. So if we're talking or worried about parts like that, The transceivers that go in the switch will be covered if you get an uplift. So if that's something you want a full thing like that, I always recommend a care pack to anybody. Sorry, support service. We don't call them care packs anymore. All right. That is our instant on switching portfolio. We do have the instant on cloud portal demo coming up. We also have our HP server families and solutions webinar coming up. And then I believe we'll have some more webinars to be planned out for the future. So look forward to those coming up eventually. I don't believe we have any questions, so we will move on from here. And I hope everybody enjoyed that presentation. We'll now move into the Aruba action section. So I believe Mike Herb is here with us this time, so I'll let you take over. And yeah, there's some Aruba action. Mike Herb is our senior solution specialist. Is that? I'm sorry if I get that wrong.
Senior sales solution specialist. That's okay, Matt.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, the titles keep changing on me.
Oh yeah, no, it's tricky. It's tricky. All right, guys. It makes sense for us to talk about Aruba Action. It is a rewards program that is directly connected to the Aruba Instant On product line. So if you could advance, please. It is very, very easy to register. There is no cost to this program. It takes about 5 minutes to sign up. There is a link listed below, action at arubainstanton.com. If you go to that and click on that, it will take you to the spot where you're able to register. Do you want to advance, please? This is what registration will look like. And as far as incentives to register, you can see that you get a $100 credit from Ingram Micro just for signing up and registering for this particular program. If you are already signed up, you can see the login is right there, right underneath Action Partner Club. It'll ask you for your email address and your password. But if you're new to it and you need to register, you can just click on where it says register here. Advance, please. And it will talk to you about why you should join the club. The main reason you should join the club is, as I mentioned before, it is a rewards program. So for every 10 Aruba Instant On switches or every 10 Aruba Instant On APs you purchase, you qualify for 1 free switch or 1 free AP, plus the $100 discount that I already mentioned from Ingram Micro. So when you click on why join the club, it takes you to the next slide. And once again, there's the login with the information. So if you're looking for it online, you can type in that information there in Google, and it'll take you right to it. One more slide, please. Next. This is the registration form. It is pretty much self-explanatory, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. But one of the things you'll notice over on the right is it says, I do not have a location ID. If you are not an HPE partner, just click that. It says you do not have a location ID, and it'll be fine. It'll accept it. If you do have a location ID, you can put it in. If you have a location ID and you don't remember it, you can still just click on I do not have a location ID, and it's okay. It's not necessarily required to register. Next slide, please. Okay. One of the things that you're going to do if you are filling out this form is it's going to ask you, how did you hear about Aruba Instant Action Partner Club? We ask you please to click distributor. And once you click distributor, a drop down will appear. And if you select Ingram Micro, we will be forever grateful for you in regards to that. And we'll be able to give you the $100 discount on whatever your next purchase of Aruba Instant On is. Okay, next slide, please. It's going to ask you a couple of more questions. There's a radio button there, tell you a little bit about yourself. It's going to ask you for consent. And it's going to ask you for if you agree to the terms and conditions. Next slide, please. And finally, you're just going to say yes and click submit. Next slide, please. Okay, just a quick recap. Once again, there is the login information, or not the login information. There's the basically it is the login information. It's the information that you're going to look up on the internet for the link that's going to enable you to be able to create an account for Aruba Instant On. Just to recap, if you sell quantity 10 of an eligible Aruba Instant On switch, you earn an 1830 24 port switch. If you sell quantity 10 of an eligible Aruba Instant On AP, you earn an AP 11D. Okay. Sales are tracked via the company dashboard on Aruba Action, which is the AA website. When you go on there for your account, if you are eligible, if you've earned enough credits to be able to get a free device, then a button will pop up that just says redeem. And that's all you would have to do is click on it and they will send you the free unit. Okay. Next slide, please. If you want to follow up on the $100 demo unit, contact myself, michael.herb@ingrammicro.com. My contact information is just over to the right there. You could also contact my teammate, Stephanie Finucane, after August of 2023. She's currently out on maternity leave. But on any Aruba Instant On product, just for signing up for Aruba Action, you qualify for a $100 discount on your next purchase from Ingram Micro. So if you wanted to exchange that for an AP11, that would cover the entire cost of the AP11. So you'd essentially be getting that at no cost. Okay. Next, please. This is a PDF that we can send you if necessary. You may recognize it from earlier in the presentation, but it has all the information that you need for it. So if you want to contact me, michael.herb@ingrammicro.com, I can send you that PDF. You can log in and get all the information that you need in regards to Aruba Action. Next slide, please. This is what the PDF looks like, and these are all the parts that are included in the Aruba Action program. All right, so it's a very specific list. It's a very handy PDF to have. Next slide, please. Okay. I doubt there are any questions at this point, but if there are, once again, you can direct them to me, michael.herb, H-E-R-B as in Bravo, @ingrammicro.com. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Michael, for that. That was good, and we got that in there. So just a quick recap of everything for today is just remember that anything to take away from anything Instant On, we make everything simple and easy. It's a great product that still has all of the support of Aruba and the protection that you expect from the features. It is a full solution from wireless to network, wired networking, all managed in an app that doesn't cost anything extra. And of course, we have this great Aruba Action program here that really help you get your foot in the door if you're someone who's brand new to this. And if you're not, and you already do wireless and wired connections, you're just looking for SMB space, Aruba is definitely competitive in this space now, and it's something that we're glad to help you here at Ingram Micro at any time. We're always available to talk this product. All right. Hope you all enjoyed that and have a great rest of your day.